They say you can only finish a tournament as strong as you start it. But what the hell are you supposed to do when you have the worst start possible? Even though the monumental stacks didn't work out for me yesterday, today I was ready to give it another go. We are back, trying the 500 again, this time with a little bit better style. Hopefully that translates. Girl math. I took my seat, counted my chips, and figured out that we started with 100,000. Oh, beautiful. Thank you, thank you. And I was determined to make something happen today because it's one of my favorite structures to be deep stacked in a tournament like this. But little did I know, my entire stack was about to be at play. And it's kind of funny because I didn't even expect to play this hand. Middle position limps, the button limps, and the small blind limps before I looked down at 3-5 of hearts in the big blind. And again, normally I wouldn't really be playing this, but I guess you could say I'm priced in. I check, and the flop comes 3-5 queen with 2 spades. That's definitely above average. So when the small blind checks to me, I bet 4,000 and the middle position player makes the call, but everyone else folds. The turn comes a 6 of hearts, bringing in backdoor hearts. So I bet 12,500 before my opponent raises to 35,000. At this point, with bottom 2 pair and a flush draw, I'm pretty sure I have the best hand. And my opponent only has like 30,000 behind. So I go all in and he calls and shows me 5-6 for a better 2 pair. Oh yeah. At this point, because my opponent showed me a better 2 pair, for some reason my brain defaults into thinking that the only way to win is through a full house, which would obviously only give me the winner if I hit a 3. So when the 4 of hearts comes on the river, my brain interprets that as I lost. Hopefully that explains my dialogue. Nice hand. Oh, I have a flush.
Yeah, you do have a flush.
Oh my god.
I'm pulling up the money thing. The same thing.
Oh my god. Wait, I'm so sorry.
We're gonna cover that all. We gotta edit that.
Nope. For better or worse, we're leaving it in.
That's a disaster.
Chat, do not judge me for that one. You would have done the same. Well, the bad news is that was embarrassing as fuck. But the good news is people think I suck. And to that, I would say, can't bluff a player if they don't know what they have. Oh my god. After that, I was honestly pretty thankful that I didn't get any playable hands for a full orbit, because I needed some time to detilt. But like clockwork, I'm in the big blind again with ace-10 offsuit. And this time, only the cutoff has raised to 3,500, to which I make the call. The flop is ace-6-8 with 2 hearts. I check, the cutoff bets 2,500, and I make the call. The turn is the jack of hearts, which isn't great, but I still think we have too strong of a hand to fold, so when I check and he bets 5,000 this time, I make the call once again. The river is the queen of diamonds, and at this point, I am just praying we get to showdown. And luckily we do. It goes check, check, and I show ace-10 for the winner. In the next hand, I open up jack-king off in the low jack and get a little action from the hijack and the big blind. We flop absolutely nothing. So when the big blind checks to us, we check as well, and so does the hijack, which becomes important later. The turn is a jack, giving us top pair. And when the big blind checks to us, I choose to get a little sneaky, I guess, and check. Although in hindsight, I'm pretty sure I'm just supposed to bet. But no matter, the hijack bets for me in the form of 7,000. Big blind quickly folds as expected, and I choose to make the call. The river seems pretty inconsequential. So at this point, I really only lose to ace jack sometimes. However, I think this opponent is perfectly capable of value betting a worse hand, or, and probably more importantly, bluffing. So I check to him once again, and he bets 25,000. Definitely a big bet, but I think we just have the best hand. I make the call, he says I'm good, and we scoop a pretty big pot there. Then, naturally, Mo comes to the table, and as I will say once and say again, I really was not surprised by this at all. I mean, every time I register a tournament, he's sat at my table, I'm sat at his. It's insane, I'm telling you. I mean, where else would you sit, for real? He definitely knows me as a little bluff happy though, and this next hand is no different. I open up ace king offsuit with a spade under the gun to 5,000, and only the big blind makes the call. The flop is 10-9-6 all spades, giving us the nut flush draw and a pretty good hand for a bluff. Big blind checks, I bet 7,000 and my opponent makes the call. The turn is the 7 of diamonds, which isn't the best card in the world because now it improves a lot of my opponent's holdings to 2 pairs, straights, relatively strong hands in general. But with the flush out there, I can still rep something way stronger than all of that. However, if I'm gonna do it, I gotta bet pretty big. So when my opponent checks to me once again, I bet 21,000 and my opponent begrudgingly makes the fold. I was not good, but I'll take it. Then my friend Joe comes up behind me and I'm like, hey, come sweat a hand.
What's up, girl?
How's it going? Are you good sweat?
Yeah, you can.
And I'm praying to get something good because then Mo is the one to open. But unfortunately, mother monster, let's go.
That's 7-7 deuce.
Yeah.
So you're saying I should have played it?
Yes.
If I get it?
But in this next hand, there's very little need for luck because I'm dealt pocket aces. I raise under the gun to 6,000 and only the button and small blind make the call here. The flop is jack 4 deuce with 2 hearts. So when the small blind checks to me with multiple opponents in this pot and a flush draw out there, I chose to size up a little bit and bet 11,500. The button pretty quickly folds, but the small blind makes the call. The turn is the 3 of diamonds, and then the small blind does something that I wasn't expecting. He chooses to lead for 25,000. Interesting. I mean, I guess some straights or 2 pairs get there, but I just don't feel like he's playing this way with like 3-4, for example. To me, it kind of looks a little bit more like a flush draw that wants to set its price to see the river. So I choose to raise it up to 60,000. And after a really long tank, my opponent makes the call. The river is the 10 of clubs, and again, my opponent is in the tank. But eventually, he does check it over to me. And at this point, I think if I was going to bet, I would have to genuinely think that he could call with worse here. And to be totally honest, I didn't think that was happening. So I chose to check back, and sure enough, he shows me queen 8 of hearts for queen high. That was definitely a sweat, but I'm glad we got max value.
Oh, Jack 4. I played Jack 4 too.
Oh my God, everyone had Jack 4.
That'll teach us.
People don't talk about this a lot, but you can tilt because you're upset as equally as you can tilt because you're happy about how you did something. So I was pretty thrilled because it was dinner break. Whew, that was a really big pot. We are on dinner break now and had a bit of a crowd on that last one, including these 2 guys, but thank God he checked river.
Is that influencer talking on her phone?
Shut
What are you doing? Be normal. Jesus.
I had to get it out. I was worried that would be a
It's
massive
uncomfortable.
for a second. I met up with my friends Corey, Goob, and Branson, and we all got some Shake Shack.
We caught Abby Poker eating a glizzy and steak.
Oh my God.
Shake Shack
Oh my
of all
God.
places.
TMZ, relax. Naturally, while we're down there, we're talking about the tournament. And at this moment, the only one who's not playing is Corey. We're just at dinner, and Corey's like, I don't know, should I play? I'm like, Corey, the action is amazing, you have to play. And although he was at first kind of resistant to it, he eventually warmed up to the idea and even sold us a little action. Well, he sold some of us a little action. He's like, I don't know, it's like $500. So I'm like, I'll give you $125. This whale gives him $250 free of charge. Just wants to be in the thumbnail. And there goes my action. Jeez. He's playing though, he's in there, no problem.
Crikey! You can see, there's a Corey Irie. He's just learned that he's going to be brought into a $500, $150K event here at the MGM DC. Oh my God, he's gone all in. And he lost.
However, there was a slight caveat. New terms.
When you go all in, you have to stand up
Yeah, so that we know that you're all in.
So I
Yeah.
will literally sound the horn.
Yes.
I'm all in. Do you want me to verbalize all in, or come up with like a unanimous like sound?
A bird call.
Cuckoo. Okay, I will literally every time I am all in, I will say cuckoo ka-choo.
Hopefully it's more than once.
Literally. Obviously, we're trolling, but because he was late regging, it was a pretty safe bet that he was going to be saying a lot more than one cuckoo ka-choo. And sure enough, the second we get back from break, Corey's all in. Shortly after though, my table breaks and I take a new seat with a completely different group of people, which is always a little bit tough because I've been playing with my old table for multiple hours and I don't know anything about anyone at this new table. And that definitely comes into play in this next hand. A middle position player that I don't really know opens to 16,000. I defend my big blind with ace-6 offsuit, and the flop comes king 6-4 with 2 diamonds. I check to him, he bets 15K, and this is where I'm not particularly fond of my line. I choose to do what no solver has ever done in the history of poker and raise to 50,000. My rationale at the time was genuinely that I had the ace of diamonds and a 6 blocking a lot of the hands that he might continue with, and it's a pretty dry board. But I don't think I thought that one through entirely, because if I block the nut flush draw, I block the worst hands that he could call me with. So if I get called, it's always by a better hand. What the f was I thinking? The turn's the 9 hearts, and I don't even know what I'm doing at this point. I bet 40,000, he jams, and I literally have no choice but to fold. Yeah, that one, I can't let that happen again. Jesus Christ. But I'm still in the tournament, which means I'm still gonna fight. A middle position player raises to 20,000 before I jam 105,000 with ace queen offsuit. For my stack size, I like the play. But what I don't like to see is that the small blind cold calls and then the middle position player goes all in. Yeah, we're cooked at this point, especially when the small blind then makes the call.
You raise, I jam. You call, you jam.
Oh, let's go. I am live. Let's go.
This is like the best possible outcome.
Nobody necessarily likes the feeling of busting, but it is made a little bit better when you have friends to, you know, bitch to about it. So I royally punted, like next level, like really bad.
You know the Super Bowl's over, right?
And then I busted. I was live though. Yeah, that's fair. Honestly though, bad decisions happen every day. But something that doesn't happen every day is an overlay. And when I turned behind me and saw a satellite running that could get me from $250 into a $4,000 high roller, I was convinced. I took my seat, and the very first hand, I'm dealt pocket 3s under the gun. For 10 big blinds, I'm all in. And the big blind makes the call with ace king, which is great until the flop is... Just kidding. Maybe though. Perhaps not. GG's, y'all. I thought ace king was never supposed to get there. Well, short and sweet. Lost flip. Oh well, time to go bug Corey. Literally, why do people think we're dating? Can you post something? Everyone thinks I'm using you.
You are. We don't have to pay for... Abby Poker is the greatest YouTuber of all time, and I am not being paid to say this. This is not an endorsement, and I don't feel her for my life. Subscribe.